Hello, how are we going? It's time for another F1 stream with your old mate Rod from Super License. That's me. No Zach this week. Just me. I reached out to Zach. He's been moving house. He's got a new job. He's doing all kinds of stuff. And can't be here today. He'll be back with us for an F1 podcast very soon. Just not here today though. But it's time for another F1 stream. A live stream. And Zach's not here. So you know what that means?
Wow, I guess this is a big moment. I should care about it.
Play all the sounds.
Wow, I guess this is a big moment. I should care about it.
We might hit the sounds later. Really wanted the sounds to be a big part of the live streams, and I keep forgetting. But we'll get to that, because coming up later, we're going to do a quick rundown on the driver market, some of the updates, and some of the interesting developments that have happened recently. Mid-season driver rankings. I've never done like tiers before, but tiers are the hottest thing these days. So it's the mid-season. Let's do a mid-season driver ranking. We're going to rank all the drivers so far. And mailbag, everything that you wanted to know, everything you were asking me about, everything you were harassing me about. I'm like, Rod, you got to tell me. You got to tell me what's going on. You're asking me stuff like this.
Because a monkey everyday bananas.
And I don't know why. What does that mean? Why would I? How would I? That's not even a question.
I think if I get a few more, I'll headbutt someone.
Well, don't ask silly questions like that then, I guess. How have you been going? Are you well? Are you coping? Formula One break has been long and it's nearly over. We've nearly got racing back. We had the Olympics to fill the break, so that's good, right? The Olympics, yay! No F1 for a month, but we had the Olympics. I feel like the problem is now that the Formula One hasn't come back but the Olympics is over, what do we do? We had the Olympics to fill the void, but now we have to say farewell, guy who looked a little bit like Oscar Piastri. Au revoir, guy who looked a bit like Valtteri Bottas. Ciao, that dude that looked a lot like Daniel Ricciardo, although that might have been a Photoshop or something. I'm not sure about that one. Later, dude who knocked his wiener on the high jump bar. Amigos para siempre, all. Let's talk driver market for a little minute. Let's turn this background music. Do 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 do. Pick that music because it has driving in the name. What more could you want from a piece of background music that it has driving in the name? The F1 driver market has been cooking up a storm over the little break. So we've had lots of announcements. Our last podcast was right before the Belgian Grand Prix, which is really when it all kicked off. In some ways, a good time to do a podcast because we were way overdue. In some ways, a bad time because we missed all the hot news with the drivers. But after the Belgian Grand Prix, or in and around the Belgian Grand Prix, a lot of shit went down. Here's your update on the drivers market and what's going on. And I think some of the most interesting and just scintillating developments around the contract conditions and stuff. Ocon and Behrman are going to Haas. That's going to be your lineup at Haas next year. So Esteban Ocon, Alpine's favorite son, the guy who forgets not to drive into your teammate, he's going off to Haas. We knew that Nico Hülkenberg was leaving. Now we know that Kevin Magnussen is leaving, and I think he's going to miss out on the seat, boys. I think he's out of the sport. Whoops. Mattia Binotto, not a driver. You may have noticed this. Mattia Binotto, not a driver. Long-time Ferrari person and one-time team principal. He's off to Audi to head their F1 project. So he's not going to be team principal there. But, I mean, there were rumors last year that he was going to be Alpine team principal. So Matrix-style bullet dodging going on there from Mattia Binotto. But he's heading up the Audi project. And they've just announced their team principal, who some people think is a big deal. I think is not a big deal, but we shall see. Right after the Belgian Grand Prix, there was a big meeting at Red Bull. And it was determined Ricciardo, Lawson, Perez, who's it going to be? Drum roll. The most boring decision that there could have been, and I think, frankly, the wrong decision. Sergio Perez is staying at Red Bull for the rest of the season, or at least for the time being. They have announced that Yuki Tsunoda will be at Racing Bulls at VCARB next year. Interesting comments from Helmut Marko recently saying, we will not be farming out Liam Lawson. He will not be going out to any other teams. So that means he's either going to be a reserve driver, they're going to pay him to do nothing maybe, keep him under contract and he's going to do nothing, or he's going to be in a seat, which is interesting. And I've seen a lot of people saying the equation is basically this, in and around Daniel Ricciardo. He will either replace Perez next year at Red Bull and drive alongside Max, or he will be dropped from VCARB. Now, to be fair, those two, they're pretty... Those are completely different ends of the spectrum. And, I mean, keeping Perez makes no sense to me. Doing that to Ricciardo makes even less sense. I really don't get it. If you're not gonna drop Ricciardo in... If you're not going to drop Ricciardo into Red Bull when Perez is underperforming to help save the furniture and try and, hang on to the Constructors' Championship, then why do you have him in the junior team at all? It's a valid point to say, hey, we can't pass up Liam Lawson because he's young and great. Why keep Ricciardo, though? I mean, that's when it sort of does make sense. If you're not going to put Ricciardo in the senior team, maybe it's Liam Lawson's time. But it's funny to me that would be the equation. You're either going to go to the current constructors leading, the current world constructors number one team in arguably one of the fastest cars, if not the fastest car, or you may just be dropped out of the sport. Where it gets even more interesting for me, because obviously your old mate Carlos Sainz had his eye. Old mate Carlos Sainz had his eye on one of those Red Bull seats. It looks like he's going to miss out. But I wanted to get to this. And I'm going to try... Oh, how do I do this? How do I translate this bitch? I had this worked out the other day, and now my little translate button is gone. Let me turn that off for a second. I saw all these quotes from Helmut Marko, and they were like, oh, he's saying this, he's saying that, he's doing this, he's doing that. Here we go. Translate to English. Unfortunately, I don't speak German. But everyone was saying Helmut Marko spoke to Speed Week and said, all of this stuff. And again, I don't speak German, so I've got to translate this into English. Hopefully the translation's okay. But I was like, well, look, I mean, if he spoke to Speed Week, let's get it straight from the source. This is actually Dr. Helmut Marko. He wrote this, which I think means he gave them the quotes and they just printed it. But this is about them keeping Perez, basically saying, yeah, we just want to keep the team stable and, hope, I guess, that things get better. One of the rationalizations for it was that we're coming up to a bunch of races where last year Perez did really good. So let's hope that he does really good again. Absolute, that is delusional thinking, and I just don't get it. We're coming up to a bunch of races where Nigel Mansell did really well. Let's put Nigel Mansell back in the car. Maybe he'll win. Just absurd stuff. When you're out of form, you're out of form, and that's just the way it is. I just can't get my head around it. Obviously, strong rumours too that the FIA got involved and said to them, hey, Mexican Grand Prix is coming up. Let's not get rid of Sergio Perez before that, please. Maybe they paid them some money. Maybe they just asked nicely. Who knows? But there's a bad smell about that whole situation. I don't know, but let's just speculate for a minute wildly without any proof. What if Red Bull said, hey, we don't want to keep Sergio Perez because he might cost us a place or two in the Constructors' Championship. So maybe the FIA said, look, don't worry about that. You keep him there, mate, and we'll sweeten the pot for you with whatever. I don't know, but let's just say maybe that sort of agreement they came to. I don't know. I just can't imagine that I just can't imagine that having Sergio Perez in your team and going to the Mexican Grand Prix is such a must-have that you would sacrifice the constructors for it. And some people said too, oh, there's this Sergio Perez documentary series that's coming out, so that'll be why they want to keep him. I was like, no, that's not just got nothing to do with it. They wouldn't give a shit about that. So anyway, the bit that I wanted to get to involved this part down here. It's understandable that Carlos Sainz decided to go to Williams because what would the alternatives be? Audi will certainly not be one of them next year if you look at their successes. He's talking about going to a successful team. And at Alpine, we don't know whether they will get a Mercedes engine for 2025 or not until 2026. I would say that was the best solution for him in this situation. It is, of course, tragic that he is having his best season at Ferrari and is not getting a seat in the top team, but things should be moving forward at Williams. He has a strong engine there too, and apparently there is a clause in his contract that allows him to leave if an offer comes from a much better placed team. Now that's interesting. We have to just think about that for a minute. There were rumors that Carlos Sainz might sign a contract with a team if there was an exit clause after either immediately or after 1 year, if a better team like Mercedes, Red Bull, whoever came knocking and said, hey, we want you. He wanted to put that clause into his contract, supposedly. James Vowles was asked about that directly, and he said, look, don't listen to anyone else. Don't believe what you read online or in the newspaper. A very, very, very small number of people. Only a handful of people. Carlos knows what's in that contract. I know what's in that contract. Carlos's cousin manager, the other Carlos, maybe his dad, maybe some of his dad's friends, maybe some of their girlfriends and co-workers know what's in that contract. But that's it. No one else. So don't believe what you read. Now look, I'll take him on his word. Sure, that's sage advice. But when Helmut Marko is so specific, there is a clause in his contract that allows him to leave if an offer comes from a much better placed team. That's very carefully worded. That's not something like there's a clause in his contract that says that he could leave if Ferrari ask or Mercedes ask. It makes me think something like, what if, for example, he signs with Williams and they go backwards? Or, you know, it might be something literally like, I can go to another team if they finish 3 or 4 positions ahead of Williams in the constructors. Something like that, right? It's so specifically worded that I tend to believe that it's probably true. Despite James Vowles saying, nah, mate, she's locked and loaded. He's ours. But between now and Christmas, if it sounds like between now and Christmas, if another team comes knocking, Carlos Sainz could just jump down their chimney and say, ho, 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 bitches, I'm gone. Let's hope for Williams' sake that doesn't happen. And let's hope for the sake of everyone who's investing so much time and effort into the portmanteau of the drivers' names, that doesn't happen. Because, I mean, there's so many good options. What are the ones? Carlix. Bonsai was my favorite. Albon, Carlos Sainz, Bonsai. Let's do that. Let's make that a thing. All right. What do I want to do next? The much anticipated thing that I have to just say, F it, let's do it live. Because I've never done this before. Let's see if this even works. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Can I get this to work? Maybe I can. So, we're halfway through the year. There's a lot of damn ass races in these goddamn years. Lots of races in these seasons these days. So there's plenty of opportunity for the drivers to impress us, or for them to absolutely eat shit and have some of the worst performances of their career. And who are we to judge? Well, you know, the thing is, you don't have to be able to do something to be able to judge it. You know, I don't need to be able to make a coffee to be able to tell you that it's a bad coffee or a good coffee. That's the beauty of life. So are we going to judge the F1 drivers? You goddamn right we are. Let's pull up. I finally got it working. Love this. Look how fucking profesh this is. Little tier maker list here. I've got all the little drivers' headies down here. We're just going to rank them all. You know, it's such a controversial thing. How many ranks do you have? What levels do you have? S, A, B, C, D. I just went S for obviously top tier. God levels here. A, B, C, D, and F. That'll do. So join me, won't you? Well, her lightning round rating of all 20 drivers. I had to exclude Oliver Behrman. I know he raced in one race, and I know he got points, and I know he is a superstar in the making and everything. I just can't justify putting him in a ranking like this. So, I mean, look, somewhere you got to draw the line. Otherwise, we're putting all kinds of characters in here. Nobody wants that. Where do we start? Who jumps out at me? Who jumps out at me? I'll make Kevin Magnussen. So I'll make Kevin Magnussen. I just said he's probably going to find himself without a drive for next year at this rate. The stewards love him. A handful of people, every race, love him. He's probably one of the more entertaining characters of the last, decade. Burst onto the scene as a speedy rookie. Has kind of underperformed ever since. Dropped from Haas, and then they came crawling back to him. He did okay at first, but he hasn't really done very much since then. Found himself into a lot of controversy, and I could not possibly rank him any higher than a T. Sorry, Kev. You D tier, buddy. Now, who else have we got here? Fernando Alonso. So obviously Fernando Alonso last year, terrific season, lots of podiums. Aston Martin this year, probably not as, they haven't as advanced with the development as much as he would like. New packages haven't really unlocked the potential of the car, neither has his driving. I mean, he's still, I think, handily keeping Lance Stroll at bay, but he's not really threatening anymore like he sort of was. He's got this lifetime deal or whatever at Aston Martin. If Adrian Newey goes there, maybe things will be different. But right now, he's sort of just doing okay. He's not doing bad. He's not doing great. And he's a solid B. Solid B. Maybe B minus. Where else do we go here? Oh, Zhou Guanyu. So Zhou Guanyu. The other guy at stake. The other guy at Sauber. That's not Valtteri Bottas. Really great to see him at the Chinese Grand Prix in front of his home fans after enduring a lot of abuse, racism, just really dodgy fan behavior and toxic stuff. He's done okay. He makes a splash on Thursdays with his fashions. He really tries hard. I don't know that he really does much behind the wheel. I think he's probably not going to be around next year either. Them's the breaks, I guess. He hasn't necessarily driven ultra bad. He hasn't necessarily driven ultra good. He's probably C or D. I don't know that he's driven as badly as Kevin. Go C. He's a C. I'll give you a C. I feel like when you're a teacher and you give a student a C, you don't know what to give them, so you just give them C. It's like rating something 7 out of 10. Like, what do you rate? Vegemite. Oh, 7 out of 10. It's like, because I don't know. I can't be bothered thinking about this anymore. 7. It's fine. Uncontroversial. Let's go somewhere down here. How about old mate Charles Leclerc? Won his home race in Monaco. A few other podiums. Doing okay. Having an okay year. Ferrari up and down in their form. When they're good, he's okay. When they're not okay, he's not so great. But he's trying. He's putting in. He's having a crack. He's doing his best. He's, again, I think most of his problems are with the car. And again, he has this sort of mental problem where he sort of puts too much pressure on himself, doubts the team strategy, and tries to drive while strategizing at the same time, A or B. He won a race. He isn't really... I mean, he's driven better than Fernando. A. He's got to be A then. A. Leclerc. It is I, Leclerc. I have to get, like Cotter's suggested, I have to get one of those drops. It is I, Leclerc. I have to get one of those. Who can we draw a drop for? That will determine who we do next. Oh, we've got to do this guy.
I'm tripping major nutsack right now.
Let's get to this guy. Danny Ricciardo. So, boy, up and down. On the verge of losing his V-Cub seat. Or blazing a trail to glory at Red Bull. Who knows? I think he's been underwhelming. I think he's been under pressure and sort of struggling still. And just struggling just seems to be, you know, the story of the last few years. I saw someone say recently they're really keen to see, like, someone do, like, a documentary or something about, like, the rise and fall of Daniel Ricciardo. I was like, that's harsh. The guy's still around. Obviously did very well at that race where, was it Canada, I guess, where he qualified well and he told old mate Jacques Villeneuve to eat shit and stuff. That was great. That was vintage Ricciardo. Makes a nice wine as well. But is he driving well? Not particularly. Not particularly. Is he as bad as a Magnussen or as average as a Zhou Guanyu? Boy, he's really struggling. I'm going to give him a D, not because he doesn't know, you know, how not to crash and stuff. I think, I might do, have I got Sonoda here? Oh, he'll be coming up soon. I'm going to give him a D, not because of his own, like, bad driving in terms of crashes and stuff, but just underperforming and just not really exciting people or delivering things. D for Daniel. D. Have we done any? We haven't done a Red Bull driver yet, so let's do a Red Bull. Let's go straight up to the top shelf. Max Verstappen. He's led, I saw this stat today. He's led this season 5 times more laps than any other driver. He still leads the Drivers' Championship. People are writing him off, but he's still leading. That said, he's had some shit drives against Hamilton, especially against Lando Norris. When the car is dominant, he dominates. When the car's not dominant, he yells at his team, crashes into people. I don't think we're seeing him at his best. We're just not. So, hey. Needs to do better. Can do better. Needs to do better. Man, we're really getting into them now. Is there any teams that I haven't done anyone for? Oh, let's go Williams. Let's go Albon. Okay. Alex Albon, AA. So he's got to be an A tier, right? Signed on for Williams next year. They're very hopeful that him and Valtteri Bottas will do really well. Always reliable. Always gets it there. Gets what he can out of the car. I don't know that he's really out driving the car. But he's certainly, he's certainly doing well. And for a guy who was on the outs just a couple of years ago, really recovered extremely well. It's got to be somewhere up here, doesn't it? Can't be S tier. Maybe B, A, Albert on. Can't be A. Can it be A? It's got to be B. Let's put him in B. Elbow. Who else can we do? We did Verstappen and we didn't play the sound.
Mate, where's the toilet paper?
Exactly, right. What else? Let's go to Alpine. We got Pierre Gasly. The better one out of Alpine. He sort of drives okay. The Alpine team and their drivers are just so anonymous right now that it's like it's hard to do anything. So where do you place them? I mean, spoiler alert, he's probably going to feature higher than Esty Bestie, but I mean, is he really doing that much? Like, he's fine. It's hard to judge when he does things well, and it's also hard to judge when he does things poorly. He's not driving as well as Alex Albon. It's got to be, we'll put him in C. C feels good. That feels right. And then we've got to go, we haven't done a Mercedes driver yet. Oh, gosh. Where do we go here? Let's go to Mr. Punchable, George Russell, the man with the most punchable face in all of F1. Won a race, nearly won another. And when he wins a race, you always go, oh, is this his first win? Because you forget. You just forget about the others. And I know he's won races. You just forget. He's doing okay. So there's phases of the season where he really, given that his teammate is Lewis Hamilton, not only holds his own, but really shows Hamilton up sometimes. Won a race. Nearly won another. Off a strategy call that was his doing. Look, so I want my fist and my knuckles to connect with his cheek, but I mean, he's an 8-tier driver right now. I don't believe it either. I don't believe this is happening. But here we are, George Russell in the A column, next to Max Verstappen. The Verstappen fanboys are gonna at me after this. Worry about tomorrow. Let's keep going. Nico Hulkenberg signed on for Sauber. Going to be... I'd say this about Nico Hulkenberg. I mean, he is really blitzing it, and the car's not good. But head-to-head, he is handily keeping Magnussen away. And, I mean, he's really justifying his signing and leaving that team. I don't know that he's an A-tier, though. But B, solid B for Hulkenberg. Yeah, let's put him there. That feels good. Then we've got, let's go to Esty Bestie. What has he done this year? Nothing. Who has he driven into? His team, mate. Who did he badmouth? His team. He's annoying. He's annoying me. He's pissing me off. F for you. Not happy. Let's do McLaren. Oh, we haven't done McLaren yet. Oh, we got to do this guy.
I'm getting a hard on in the middle of the race.
Ooh, my goodness me. Let's go to the heartthrob himself, Mr. Shirtless. Lando Norris. He's won some races, right? A race? There's no driver other than Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton that's won more than one race this year. So he's won one race, his first race in Miami. Was battling Verstappen in, where was it, Austria? Battling for the lead in that race that he doesn't want to talk about anymore, that Oscar Piastri won at. I mean, for me, that's a black mark against him. But he won a race, and he's been driving extremely well. Black mark, won a race. Do they balance each other out? Is he driving well enough the rest of the time? Look at that. He's almost right there. Do I let go? Oh, this is hard. Why did I do this? Is he driving better than Verstappen and Leclerc? Maybe. Yep. S tier for you. Well done. Look at these fine young faces down here. Oh, this guy. My favorite guy. Sergio Perez. Mr. TV. Mr. Small Screen. What a guy. He's really giving small screen. Oh, Sergio Perez, you're a dud. I don't like you. You're annoying. Someone said you have like dodgy connections to like the underworld or something. What's that about? Want to know more about that. Driving badly. Like taking up one of the best, most coveted seats in the sport. Gosh, how could you be anywhere but F? Sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. Logan Sargent. Speaking of Mr. Perez, you see those stats that are like, in the last 7 races, Logan Sargent has outqualified Perez 5 times. He's not going well. He's been dropped from Williams. He's probably going to IndyCar or whatever next year. But that said, he's doing all right. I mean, he's doing his best. He's doing better than his best. Some people say you can't even do that. I say to them, shut up. He's not here. He's got to be C. He's fine. Albon's only a B. He's much better than Logan Sargent, but Sargent's going D. That's happening. I did this. All right, where next? Boo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll. Mr. Racing for Life. Really horrible incident where he drove into the back of Daniel Ricciardo for no good reason. Doesn't drive very well the rest of the time. Is a little bit better this season than last year, last couple of years. Help me. Someone help me. I don't want to do it. I just want to put him like right there and then close my eyes and see which one he lands on. You did it. I can't rank you higher than Daniel when you drove into Daniel. Sorry, mate. You're a D. Strong rumors that Aston Martin want to sign Fernando Alonso and they want to recruit Max Verstappen and Adrian Newey to create a dream team. Wow. Well, that'll be entertaining. 5 names left. Where do we go? Beep, 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 boop, beep, boo. Valtteri Bottas, Mr. Coffee Beans. We've seen him in the sauna. We've seen him on the track. He's scintillating and steamy in all environments. Mr. All Environments. Sort of, I feel like last year he was doing really well. Last year he would have been like, yeah, he's fine. The car's not that great, but he's great. He'd probably be up here last year. I don't know. I feel like this year he's sort of had some disappointing results. But then his teammate's already C tier. Is he better than his teammate? Probably. This is weak, but I'm going to leave him in the B for Bottas. B for brave. Couple more. Yuki Tsunoda. I'm a big rat for Yuki Tsunoda. Actually, I can't believe he's not in the Red Bull seat already. You see the stats between him and Daniel, and he really has outshone Daniel this year in a way. I think that when Daniel returned to VCARB, people thought Daniel's just going to blitz this guy, and he hasn't. And I loved his comment when they were like, maybe Liam Lawson should just go straight into the senior Red Bull seat, and he was like, that would be that would be weird to do that because I'm here and doing well, so that would be weird. Why would you do? No, not Lawson. Me. Why would you do that instead of me? Because weird. That would be Lawson. Lawson would be weird. He's really driving well. And, I mean, we all know what his head was like when he started. Can't be A tier. Can't be D tier. Is he right up here? Probably. Yeah, B. Good on you, Yuki. Keep it up, mate. You know, you can kind of tell that I'm keeping a couple of these to the end. Let's do Chili Signs next. Chili Signs. You hear Color Signs tell that story about how he got his nickname Chili. It's always like, well, I went from Carlos to Carla to Chica to Chiqui Chica to Chilarita to Cala Cala Chala. And then like half an hour later, he's still telling the story. And then he's like, and then Chala, and then Chili, and then Chili. And it's like, oh God, dude, that story where you just spent half an hour reading out names that start with C is not interesting. One races. I wanted to see him really throw down this year, and I really wanted to see him like unleash because Ferrari did him wrong by dropping him. And I wanted to see him really just cause some shit, and he hasn't. But he's been driving pretty well. For a while he had the better of Leclerc. So I mean, does that put him up here? But then for a while Leclerc had the better of him, so it sort of balances out. And then where does he come out in the wash? This is tough. He has been the center of a lot of speculation in the driver market, made things needlessly confusing, snuck in a sneaky little clause into his contract that says he can piss off if a really good team asks him. That's an A-tier move if I've ever seen one. Nearly done. Just a couple of guys left. Who do we go with next? Oh, Mr. Meme? Or Mr. Reliable? Well, let's say this first and then we'll work it out.
Lewis, I love you and respect you.
Oh, well, if you love him and respect him so much, we'll do it. I said on the podcast when Lewis won in Silverstone, and all I watched was the highlights, but I had to wipe away tears because I was so happy and so emotional. I got swept up in the emotion of it. He's driving every bit as well as George, if not better. I mean, he's been good or brilliant. He's been good or brilliant all season, and that's exactly what you expect from Lewis, unless you expect him to be brilliant all season. Has he done better than George? I mean, Lewis has 2 wins, but George nearly had 2 wins. Let's go S. For a little bit of that Hamilton magic at Silverstone, that got him across the line. That just leaves Mr. Meme. Mr. Mighty Meme. Mr. Broken Rib. I think Piastri's really been a surprise. And I mean, he's won his first race. Yes, I know there was the controversy with Piastri. With Piastri. He's Piastri. There was a controversy with Norris and the team having to tell him to give him his position and everything. But he owned that race and did everything right. Has done everything right many times, including sacrificing himself for his teammate. He's been there in the sprint races. He's been there in qualifying. He's been there in the races. Anything less than S is not befitting him. How are them apples? Both McLaren drivers and Lewis in the S tier. Feels good. I'm happy with this. What would you change? What would you have done different? What did I do wrong? Don't tell me what I did right, because you'll be there all day. Keep it to what I did wrong. Let me know. Where did your favorite driver rank? And was I right or wrong to do that? Was I fair? Was I strict but fair? If you want to come at me, feel free. Please give me a justification. Don't just say, fucking Dan did better than that. Back it up with some receipts. Or don't bother. But your feedback is welcome. All right. One last thing to do, and then we will wrap this baby up. Let's go to the mailbag. Let's reach into the mailbag. F1 mailbag, where you send me your talking points, questions, comments, concerns. I'm not going to tell you if something is infected. I'm not going to analyze your dreams. Although you can send me F1 dreams and I'll read them out. We should do F1 dreams again soon. But this is mailbag, where you can send us your things and I'll think about them and talk about them. Let's open our account this week with this comment or question. Does Stefano Domenicali have a brain worm or something? Good reference. Stefano Domenicali has been in the headlines for a few reasons of late. One being, this is kind of weird, that he said, maybe the next place that we'll be going F1 racing is Rwanda. It'd be great to have a race in Africa somewhere. I guess everyone just assumed if you were going to go for a race in Africa, you'd be in South Africa, but not necessarily. But Rwanda? I guess it could be fine. Probably more concerning and probably more what you're talking about with the question about the brainworm. Imagine a little brainworm with like a F1 helmet and gloves and everything. Pretty good. You wouldn't be able to imagine an F1 brainworm doing the reaction test where they drop the tennis balls and the worm's just standing there. He's got no arms and the balls just fall to the ground. But he's like, trust me, I reacted so much to that. Stefano Domenicali was defending reverse grids recently, saying, why are people calling reverse grids fake racing? What's fake about that? That sounds exciting. These guys are pure racers, and you put them on the track against each other? Nothing fake about that. Reverse grids would be great. What worries me is those two things combined. Let's go race in Rwanda and let's have reverse grids. I worry we're going to get some kind of bullshit novelty race where they're like, we're going to Rwanda and we're going to have a reverse grid sprint or some shit. Because they would have paid them multi-dollar-y. And I mean, there's just so much hatred out there for reverse grids. It's up there, and I mean, we haven't done it yet, but I'm telling you, if they try and pull this shit, people will not like it. It's right up there with fucking double points that we had that year for the season finale. People still cringe when you mention double points for the race finale. Like, that's just bullshit. Why is Abu Dhabi worth double points compared to like Spa or Monza or somewhere? It's just not right. Does Stefano Domenicali have a brainworm? Yeah. I mean, I'm leaning towards yes. He does. Next question. Do we know how Oscar broke his rib? Ooh. I can feel it. Oh, when I think about it, I can feel it. Oscar Piastri announced a few days ago that he had a broken rib for a while. I think sometime after Silverstone, he was like, oh yeah, I got a broken rib. Remember, he won a race after that. I don't know that it's been announced how he broke it. Someone said G-forces, but it's like, yeah, but G-forces doing what? Of course it was G-forces. One way or another, almost every time someone breaks their rib, it's because of G-forces. But was he like jet skiing or was it from one of the races? You know, the context matters. One thing I thought of was there was a thing that happened. There was a thing that happened that might have caused his rib to break. Remember this? Is this when he broke his rib? Lots of drivers have done this, by the way. Just drive straight into the jack, man. This view is even more sickening. Watch this. Pow! How did that guy not break his rib? Maybe that guy, though, is so strong. Maybe he's like Clark Kent, and he's just standing there, and that little bump was enough to break Piastri's rib. I don't know. But when I heard broken rib, for some reason, my brain, my poor addled brain just went straight to that moment. If anyone knows, let me know. How did he break his rib? That said, he's been driving fine and winning races ever since, so let's not worry about it. Last question for this week. Considering Raygun's efforts at braking, what Olympic sport would you have a crack at? That was bad. Like, can we agree that was bad dancing? That she was clearly improvising? At least some of it. I've seen some clips that look actually genuinely quite good. And then I've also seen some, you know, everyone's seen the clips. They're bad. I don't know, man. And she's sort of come out now saying like, oh yeah, I was sort of just like trying to make a point about how the Olympics are about having a go and about including everybody. And I was like, oh, I don't know, man. There must be someone in Australia who's better at breakdancing than you, and they didn't get to go because you got to go. I find that hard to swallow. Anyway, we're not here to bullshit on about that. Considering Raygun's efforts at breaking, what Olympic sport would you have a crack at? I saw a clip actually of a guy doing high jump where he just sort of, I mean, this happens in high jump, but it was just funny to see in isolation where he's just running and his steps get out of order, and then he just sort of abandons, and instead of going for the jump, he just sort of flops onto the mattress. And I was like, I could do that. I'd have a crack at that. Maybe long jump. Just sort of plod up to the line, have a jump, and then the judge is looking at me like, really? I'm like, look at me. What do you expect? But I had to go. That's what it's all about. What am I to do? I'm a mere mortal. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for this week's live stream. We're going to be back with the podcast soon. What races are coming up? Zandvoort is the next race in a week and a bit. And then whatever the next one is after that. It's a double header, I know that. So we'll be back with the podcast probably after Zandvoort or after that second race, maybe. Maybe. Like I said, Zach's a busy boy. But we'll see how we go. Maybe he needs to do some of this.
Because a monkey every day bananas.
Because a monkey every day, bananas.
Wow, I guess this is a big moment. I should care about it.
Well, we'll be back with the podcast very soon. Hope you've been having a good time. Hope you've nearly made it through your summer break. You're nearly there. Hang in there. You can do it. I believe in you. Until, though, next time that we see you, please do feel free to reach out to us on Threads. We're at Superlicense. You can send us an email, superlicencepodcast@gmail.com. Have you had an F1 dream? Send us your F1 dream. We'll read it out. Hoping very soon, too, to have a chat with somebody about the emerging situation, the legal situation, where the DOJ in America are hauling over the coals the FIA for their exclusion of Andretti for their entry into the sport. So that will be interesting to see where that goes, if anywhere. But in the meantime, let's fade up some music. I'll say my farewells. I'll bring up the end frame and then we'll say toodaloo. Check us out at superlicense.fm if you're not sure where to go or what to do. Follow us on Threads. And I'll see you later.